Time for my weekly Walking Dead review. So, the name of this last episode was Do Not Disturb. Ooh. And we get now what was nice about this is we get to see all of the characters finally in one episode. They're not all together. There's still three separate paths, three separate storylines that are going on. Although where Nick is happened right at the very end of the episode, so kind of doesn't really count, but at least they gave us something with Nick. But we really had two main storylines. We had Travis with his son Chris. They're traveling. They're just honestly trying to survive at this point. Maybe getting reunited with Madison and Strand's group. And Madison and Strand's group is stuck in a hotel right now in Tijuana. Yeah, so they're all in Mexico though. And we saw some pretty good action scenes. There was one point where Alicia, Nick's sister, had to jump into an open elevator shaft and hang onto the cables while...
We haven't seen that before in The Walking Dead. Open elevator shaft.
We have or we haven't?
We haven't. It was sarcasm.
When did we see it in the original Walking Dead?
That's in the hospital.
Oh, you're right. I had totally forgotten about that, except she didn't do it to escape because the elevator was right below it, but she had to grab onto the cables and then go up a floor where she met someone who, at the beginning of the episode, you saw a flashback of a wedding reception when the virus outbreak happens. Or where the, whatever it is, happens. The outbreak of walkers. And that was a brutal scene because the first victim is the bride's father, followed shortly by the bride.
Couldn't have predicted that one.
Yeah. Oh, if you didn't see it coming, I can't help you. But yeah, but that was really... That scene was done really well, and that's how the episode started. Well, the person in charge, and this is, by the way, the wedding is happening at the hotel that they are currently stuck in. And the person who is in charge, the hotel staff person that was in charge of the wedding, locked everyone in that room with the walker, and you know what happens at that point. And her nephew had been living in the hotel for the last 2 months and trying to just survive and avoid the guests who have also become infected. And they have... so she helps Alicia. I keep wanting to call her Allison still. But Alicia, she helps her out of the elevator. Alicia convinces her to look for her nephew who's gone missing. Alicia's trying to get reunited with her mom, Madison. And they do that. They kind of do a couple cool scenes where Alicia has to get onto a balcony and kind of go around and get onto another balcony. That was a cool scene. And we don't see Madison or Strand until Alicia accidentally runs into them, so you didn't know what their fate was. Last time you saw them in the previous episode was they were surrounded by walkers in a bar, and it did not look good for them. And the episode ended with a little bit of Nick. Oh, and then of course we have Travis and his son, Chris, and they're kind of bonding, even though they're just kind of moving from place to place right now. They managed to get a car, and Chris his son goes to get some supplies while Travis is working on the car, trying to get it to run. And he gets it to run, but in the meantime, Chris runs into a group of 3 guys that are like college age who and basically like steals supplies from them, steals some food and water. And then he runs back to Travis. He leaves them with walkers to deal with. But they jump in the car and take off. There's a scene where Travis teaches Chris how to drive. It's kind of nice. It's one of the few low-key moments we get in Walking Dead shows. And then they run out of gas. And the guys from the from where they got the car from and who Chris stole from catch up to them. But they're not what you would expect. You know, like having watched we're 6 seasons in, we're about to be in season 7 of The Walking Dead. So you just expect anyone who's not a part of Rick's group to be an utter jerk, right?
Yes.
And like just shoot on sight. Okay, don't ask any questions. Just shoot him. Shoot him. You're gonna regret it. Shoot him. We're to that point. We're not quite to that point in Fear the Walking Dead. Although there was a bit of a standoff with people pointing guns at each other, and they eventually decided not to point guns at each other or kill anyone. They split the food. They all travel together to the next town. They find a farm, which is important because Travis was kind of talking to Chris, like saying, like, well, you know, here's our options. Like, really the best thing is for us to just find a place to live out the rest of our lives, like a farm or some place that has a good vantage point that we can defend easily, and just live there. But that's not good enough for Chris, because he's basically like, well,
because he hasn't seen The Walking Dead.
Well, Chris is like, and then what, Dad? And of course, the mid-season finale of season 2 involved Chris looking like he was going to kill Madison. And yeah,
I wouldn't mind that personally. I don't watch it anymore, but that lady was annoying. Still true.
She I don't know. She has her moments. Honestly, the person I get really annoyed with now lately is Nick.
He was really annoying in the first season too.
Well, he makes dumb decisions even for druggy. But he so Chris really starts to hit it off with these guys. And it's funny because it's like they're giving him good attention, whereas everyone else in the group is kind of like, you know, hey, you kind of are psychotic at this point, or you're getting to the point where you enjoy killing walkers and, you know, you kind of like the way things are now. They're not saying it, but they're all thinking it. And Chris is just loving this attention from these guys, and so they go to this farm. They think it's deserted, but then they find some gravestones of, I guess, a family that lived there.
Rest in peace.
And they hear chickens in the barn. Of course, they're like, oh, we can grab a couple of these and get some protein. Then the farmer comes out with a shotgun. And of all the guys there, Chris is the one who kills him, even though Travis is trying to, like, make the situation better. Yeah, Travis just up and kills him. Or Chris up and kills him, and Travis, he doesn't know what to do right now.
Boy, doesn't that sound familiar? A son shooting an innocent person and his father met with him.
Yeah,
flashback to season 3.
Yeah. I know what you mean. But I feel like Carl learned from that situation.
He doesn't sound like he's as psychopathic as this kid, Chris.
Right. I feel like Carl's about as normal as you possibly can be if you have to grow up in this.
Yeah, now he is, yeah.
But man, Chris is just off to a horrible start, and it doesn't seem like it's going to turn around for him.
Now, how did they all get separated in the first place?
So, mid-season finale, they find refuge at this place where Strand used to stay. And Strand was romantically involved with this one guy there. Yay! So that happens. That guy dies. And Strand, I guess, had a deal that he would die with him or he would kill himself. They keep running into people in Mexico who have really weird beliefs about the walkers and how, some believe they're not to be feared. They're still your family. You just keep them alive. Or if you're sick and you're about to die, you should sacrifice yourself to them. And they're running into weird groups. But Daniel, do you remember Daniel? The older guy who had the barber shop in season 1?
Oh, yeah.
So he burns the place down. And there's a good chance he stayed in there and burned with it because he was kind of going crazy.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Starting to see his dead wife and stuff. Familiar.
Get out. Get out.
I just thought of that.
I'm doing stuff. Thanks.
I'm so glad we're past that with Rick. Yeah, that's the place burned down. Nick wanted to take off because he started being influenced and saying oh yeah, maybe they're not all that bad, and covered himself in zombie guts and started walking among them. He wouldn't go with Madison, his mom, and Travis and Chris ran away, and Travis chased after him. Mm-hmm. So that's how we got everyone split into the current
and
groups.
The girls with her mom.
Yes, and Ophelia is also with them, which is
the dude's daughter.
Yeah, right.
The guy who burned himself.
Yep. So that's how it was. I personally think that we are getting better as the second half of the season moves on. It was really strong. It was a really strong episode. Now that I think about it, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Exciting stuff. Move the plot along just fine. We finally get to see Travis and Chris. And even though we saw Nick for only a short amount of time, we did see all the characters in one episode finally. So, 9 out of 10.